Hey guys, it's Trey here once again, and in today's video we're going to be continuing with setting up our Ubuntu web server that's going to be running a node project. So last time we went ahead and got our server from DigitalOcean, and we also linked a GoDaddy domain to our web server on DigitalOcean. So this time around, we're going to go ahead and actually get on our web server and configure it to be ready to be used with our node server. So basically, we're just going to be setting up, some basic security for the web server, enabling a firewall, things like that, creating a non-root user. So let's go ahead and do this. So to start off with, we need to go ahead and log into our newly created web server. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to use those SSH keys that we created in the last tutorial. So we really technically don't have to use them, but I'm going to show you how it works. So what we're going to do is type in SSH. This is the command we're going to be running, and we're going to SSH into our web server. So we're going to type in root because we want to log in as the root user. Then we're going to type in the @ symbol. And then after this, we're going to type in our domain. So that domain that we got from GoDaddy is what you're going to type in here. So mine was nodeserver.info. So whatever your domain was, that's what you need to type in here. All right. So you type that in, hit enter. And if it's your first time logging in, it's going to ask if you want to, it's like if you want to save it or something, just type in yes and let it do that. And then it's going to ask you for your passphrase if you put one in. So I put one in, so I'm going to enter my passphrase. All right. And then if you see all this gobbledygook, that means you have successfully logged in. So I'm going to clear this. All right. And now from here, we can go ahead and begin configuring our server because now we are logged in as root on our web server. So this name here is the name that we set up when we started when we were creating our web server. So on DigitalOcean, when we actually changed that thing to web server, that's what this is. So right now, I think I'm going to change it to our domain name. So what we're going to do, the way we can do this really quickly is just by typing in vim/etc/hostname. And then in here in this file, we're just going to, I'm going to hit CW to change word. And then I'm going to type in node server. I'm not going to put the .info. I'm just going to put node server. All right. Then we hit escape and then :WQ to save it. All right. Also, we can go into our vim/etc/hosts file. So we're going to edit this file as well. And then inside of here, if we go down to this line here, we can see that this is web server. So I'm going to go over the W. I'm going to hit CW. And then I'm going to type in node server. Then I'm going to hit escape. And then I'm going to go over to this next W and do the same thing. CW. And then I'm going to type in node server. And then I'm going to hit escape. And then I'm going to hit :WQ. And that's going to save this file. So now we have saved our hosts. Now our host name. Now it's not going to show up until we do a reboot, but that host name has been changed on this server. So now we can get into the really fun stuff, which is actually creating a non-root user. And this is the user you're going to want to use whenever you log into your server. You really don't want to be logging in as the root remotely. I'm going to actually disable that on this server, so you won't be able to log in as root remotely, but you definitely don't really want to have that. That's not really a good security practice. So what we're going to go ahead and do is create this non-root user, but he's going to have root privileges. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to type in the command. All right, the command is add user. And then we're going to put your username. So I'm going to use Cooper J. All right, so now we're here, it's creating that. Now it wants me to add my password. So I'm going to type that in. And then I'm going to type it in again. All right. I'm not going to really put any of this in. Is this information correct? I'm going to hit yes. All right, and now my user has been created. So now that the user is created, we want to go ahead and give him super user privileges. So that way we can run some commands as root if we need to, because this is going to be the user that we're going to use to actually, log in remotely and actually handle things on the server. So the way we do this is we're going to type in usermod -a capital G, and then we're going to say sudo, and then we're going to put in the name of the user, which is mine is Cooper J. Then once we hit enter, now we've added that user to the super user sudo file. So now he can do make super user commands. All right. So from here, we need to go ahead and set up our SSH configuration. So let's go ahead and do that. The way we're going to do this is we're going to type in vim/etc/ssh/sshd_config. All right, that is the file we need to update. And once this file is open, we can go down here to where this port is. And I like to change my port just to get it away from the standard port. No, really, you don't have to do that. I just like to do it because I like to be different. So what we're going to do is we're going to type I so we can get in the insert mode. I'm going to delete the hash symbol, so it's uncommented now. And then I'm going to change this port from 22 to 7777. All right, you can change that to pretty much anything that you want, that's within the range. And that's pretty much all I want to do there. So I'm going to hit escape so that we are not in insert mode anymore. And I'm going to, let's go around and look for, okay. So permit root login. We definitely want to change this to no. So I'm going to highlight over this Y, and then I'm going to type in CW, and then I'm going to type in no. All right, then we hit escape. That way we don't permit the root login. So now the root user won't even be able to log in using SSH, which is what we want. All right. So now we go down, public key authentication. We want to leave that at yes. And the last thing we want to change is password authentication. So make sure this is set to no, because we don't want password authentication. We want whoever is logging in remotely to have to use the SSH key. All right, so from here, that's all we really need to change. Let's do a WQ. So if you're in insert mode, remember to hit escape and then hit :WQ to save. All right, so now that we have our SSH configured, what we need to do is in order to allow our other user in, we need to actually add an SSH key for them as well, because right now we only have an SSH key for our root user, which we won't be able to log in with. So now we need to add that SSH key to our other user that we just created, which in my case is Cooper J. So the way we're going to do this is we're literally going to use the same key that was used by the root user, and we're just going to literally copy that over to our new user's home folder. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to use a command called rsync. So we're going to say rsync, and then we're going to do --archive --chown equals Cooper J, and then Cooper J. So we're setting the permissions there, and then we're going to put this. We're going to put the tilde sign, and then we're going to do /.ssh, and then we're going to put /home/Cooper J. So this is basically the copy from the root's SSH folder, and then we're going to put it into the Cooper J's folder. All right, so this is where we're going to do that copy. Now if we hit enter, everything should be good. So now let's check Cooper J's home folder. So we're going to say ls/home/Cooper J. Let's do a ls-al. There we go. All right, so now we can see that there's that SSH folder. Let's take a look at the SSH folder. All right, so now we have that authorized keys file in there, which is good and has the correct permissions. So there we go. that has been saved over. So now we should be able to log in with our user Cooper J using the same SSH key file that we created at the beginning of the last tutorial. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to set up our firewall. So the firewall is going to block everything except for our SSH port, which in my case is 7777. And if you didn't change your port, then it will be port 22. All right, so what we're going to do is type in UFW, and then we'll do status, and we see that it's inactive. So UFW is the firewall that we're going to be using, and its status right now is inactive. So what we're going to do first is set the rules, and then we're going to activate the firewall. All right. The reason I want to set the rules first is because if you activate the firewall without actually allowing the port through, then you might get disconnected. So what we're going to do is we're going to say UFW, and then we're going to say allow, and then you put your port number, mine of which 7777. And then /TCP. All right, so now it says the rule is updated and we're good to go. So let's go ahead and enable our, go ahead and enable UFW. So we're going to say sudo, we don't have to say sudo. So we're going to say UFW enable. All right, then you hit yes. All right, and then now it says firewall is active and enabled on your system. So now we have enabled our firewall. So the last thing we need to do is restart our SSH service. So we're going to say service SSH restart. All right. So now that we've restarted our SSH server and we've enabled our firewall, everything should be good. So one last thing before we actually log out and try to log back in with Cooper J is we're going to check our the rules on our firewall. So we're going to say UFW status. All right. So now we can see that the status has been set to active, and we also are allowing 777 TCP from anywhere. All right. So as you can see here, you can actually make your firewall more granular if you feel like it. Instead of allowing from anywhere, you can allow from a certain IP address. I believe you can even do ranges and all that. Just go ahead and look at the man page for UFW, and you'll be able to see all of the different type of things that you can do with UFW. Right now, I'm just going to set it from anywhere. Definitely, you should probably lock it down more if your server is really going to be having stuff that you don't want to get out. All right, so I'm going to exit now since we have everything set up. All right, so now I'm going to try to run the same command that we just ran before. So SSH root at nodeserver.info. So last time we ran this, we were able to input our password and we got in just fine. This time when we run this, it really should just hang up. It shouldn't even do anything because port 22 is blocked. So there should not be any way that we can get in on port 22, regardless of the user. All right, so I hit enter, and as you can see, our cursor is just sitting here. We're blocked out because port 22 is blocked by our firewall, so it just doesn't even respond. All right, so now let's go ahead and try to log in with the root user on port 7777 because that's the port that we opened up. So if we do SSH-P and then we type in 7777, now we're setting the port. So we're saying SSH use port 7777 when you're connecting to this server. So now if we hit enter, it says enter passphrase because our firewall allows that through. But when we type in our password, which is the correct password, it's going to still block us out because SSH does not allow root logins. And as you can see, we're trying to log in as the root user. So even though we have the correct password, it's still not going to let us log in. So let me type in the correct password. All right. And it says permission denied, public key. All right. So that's how you know that our root login isn't working anymore. So now we're going to try to do the same thing, but we're going to log in with Cooper J. All right. So I'm going to erase root and I'm going to type in Cooper J. Otherwise, it's the same command. Let's go ahead and hit enter. All right. And hit the password. And now we're in. As you can see, we're logged in as Cooper J. Let me erase all that. Here we go. See, Cooper J at Webserver. All right. So the last thing I think I want to do is just because just to show you that it works, I'm going to restart the web server just so you can see that this will change to what we set it to for our host name. So I'm just going to type in sudo. Now we have to use the sudo command for any privileged commands because we are not the root user anymore. So I'm going to type in sudo system ctl reboot. And then we have to type in our password to run sudo. All right. And now you see it kicked us out because the server's restarting. All right. So I'm going to wait a little bit, let the server restart, and then I'm going to log back in with Cooper J. All right. I'm going to enter the passphrase. Boom. There we go. We're back in. And as you can see, let me erase this. It is now node server. All right. So I think this is all for this tutorial. We have pretty much a basic setup. Everything's there. We have our firewall up. We have our non-root user. And now our server's pretty much ready to go. We're going to be using Node. So there, we'll install all of that stuff probably in the next tutorial and get everything up and running. Yeah, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe to the channel and all that jazz, and I will see you guys in the next video.